one of the events that takes place once a year in the US, helping connect a variety of key folks including simmers like us. Paying a visit to FlightSimExpo for the first time was kind of an experience to me. It's been a week since the expo, and certainly I got the time to sit down, make a video on what all I really experienced, and hopefully gives you an idea on what to expect when you plan on visiting a FlightSimExpo in the future. I flew from Sacramento, a great place in California, and roughly a 3.5-hour flight to Houston. I got lucky to get a direct one, an early morning flight, and I think it was ideal in my case. The event took place for 3 days, mainly from the 24th through the 26th. Now on Friday, the 24th, there were many presentations, product reveals, and some popular folks on YouTube who joined hands to share their experience and interests. Now for the most part, we all know what happened on the 24th. High level, we had Hawk Newman speak about next releases for 2024. The A2A's great news on the command share, PMDG, and several others who gave us nothing but surprises. I'm not going to explain on what all releases were discussed, as we all know by now on the types of changes we should experience. I've made this video to share my experience. Now the 25th and the 26th were the days where the exhibits were there, and that's when I flew. Now the venue was at Houston, Texas, a city planned on the central time zone of America. This was my first time ever visiting an expo. Saturdays and Sundays venue was set on a different location, which was at Lone Star Flight Museum. Now this museum was established in 1985 as the Texas Aviation Hall of Fame, and in 1991 it opened doors to the public as the Lone Star Flight Museum. The mission was to honor and preserve Texas aviation history and inspire the future of flight through engaging exhibits, educational programs, and a diverse collection of aircraft. Now the museum is situated at an airport, Ellington Airport, a former military airfield, and covers an area of approximately 130,000 square feet. I was greeted by a few kind gentlemen who gave me a name badge to wear, sponsored by Orbix, and a t-shirt for something to keep. The event was planned on 2 hangars that were quite spacious. You wouldn't realize they were hangars with the distraction of exhibits. Now apart from exhibits that were extremely interesting with history on aviation, there were dozens of vendors out there, and most of them were popular names. What I noticed immediately was that the event was not specific to Microsoft Flight Simulator, nor was the crowd. Now although this platform has bagged 12 million users, confirming recently by Hawk Newman, I found a lot of folks who were X-Plane users and DCS as well. I do think it's essential for folks to realize that there are other platforms out there, to give it a try, plus hardware that could improve our experience. Most of the vendors out there had the notion to design products that could be used for all the platforms. Popular folks from Thrustmaster who gave us the news on the next installment on the military wear, which is officially licensed by the way. Of course, we ought to have the lobby of Microsoft Flight Simulator with Jane, who is the community manager. We've seen her on plenty of community flights. The team of Flight Effects, who proudly parked their Vision jet. Of course, they did showcase the jet inside and out, letting us simmers really feel that jet the way it was. They seemed to be thrilled on the next project when I exchanged a few good words. Now there were tons of hardware to take a look, feel it, and get an idea on a decision you might have before purchasing any of the hardware. Now what was interesting was the fact that there were studios trying to connect every dot of your experience. Meaning, SimFab, for example. These folks were determined to work on the right frame for your cockpit and experience that high fidelity and authentic realism of a modular-based cockpit design along with its accessories. Now their goal was designed to replicate real race cars and aircraft layouts. It did feel like you can increase your immersive experience with their modular cockpit design, and the team worked on add-ons that were easy to install and cost-effective without compromising quality or craftsmanship. Now something caught my attention to one of the booths, which was Your Man. The immediate reaction after taking a look at the controllers were, this is 2023, and why does it have a simple joystick feel, and what can this really offer us? To my surprise, this was more than it looked and functional in a manner that held precise controls on a sim.
Okay, here we go. Alright, so this is the Luuminator, and it is a fully functional handheld flight simulation solution. So whether you're constrained for space or you want to go mobile, whether you're in a plane or a coffee shop or just want to sit on your kitchen table. So the linchpin feature is the triggers. So you can see the triggers have a seesaw effect that goes back and forth like this. And we also have 7 axes total, including those triggers. You have burn your poles to map things like throttle, mixture, spoilers, thrust reversers, if you're doing larger aircraft. You have 2 sliders up here as well to provide 2 more linear axes, just like the burn your poles. You got a trim wheel, although you can map it to other things, doesn't have to be trim necessarily. You got a POV hat switch, that's 5-way. So you can use that to obviously move your head, move the camera. You can actually hold down one of the bumpers up here in combination with the POV to do different movements. And
in fact, I was taken aback trying to use it with the responses. And the goal for this team is to create fusion of a traditional handheld gaming controller and unique flight controls for aircraft of all sizes. It's designed for precision and versatility, all into a handheld form factor. It would be a primary controller for your laptop, tablet, or a desktop. Now, quite frankly, I was impressed with its functionality, and it looks like it is packed with everything you need for the most advanced sims. I did spend some time later on with the folks suggesting on changes for the design aspect, which was very well received, by the way. What are we looking at? D-Day plane. Yes, it's a flight sim with a long queue, of course. Over 75 years ago on June 6, 1944. That's all, brother, led the main airborne invasion of Normandy, piloted by Lieutenant Colonel John Donaldson. The plane led over 800 C-47s that dropped over 13,000 paratroopers into a battle that changed the course of mankind. Now, 75 years later, we are still able to experience this great plane back into the skies over Normandy for the commemoration of the 75th anniversary of D-Day. Another cool exhibit, a part of the museum rather, was the Max Lift Simulator experience. It's open all year round, by the way, if you're a local. Now, as we see it, this is a fully interactive simulator that can perform a 360 motion. Yes, just look at that, and that joy these two simmers are thrilled to enjoy every turn with a bit of G-force. You're in that pilot's seat. Now, virtual adventures like this, including flying warbirds, jets, and vintage aircraft, riding in a roller coaster, taking an underwater adventure, and more are included. However, something to note is that you do need a separate ticket in addition to general admission. Now, back to the exhibits, I came across the HUV, heads-up view, and something interesting to not just military jets. In fact, I had a chat with the owner if they plan to bring this to the commercial front, especially with PMDG, and the good news is the plans are there. I did mention the fact on the size of it, as it's really not portable to clip it to your current setup because most simmers have desktops and use it for multiple purposes, while some simmers are serious. This was interesting to take a look. That's the brand new Delta flight screen by Honeycomb. It seems like that most devs are going the portable way. In fact, most simmers really have that real estate to accommodate every hardware on the setup. It's a series of reconfigurable 1080p touchscreen displays designed for flight simulation that wirelessly connects to your PC. Now, in between all this, I came across some popular folks out there, including SimFanatic and his team, Ivan Sky, Blue Games, Sergio from Helisimmer, Hog Newman, and quite frankly, it was strangely weird to see Hog Newman, the team of Asoba, sit right there between the crowd like normal people. I saw them at the cafeteria as well and felt, wow, these guys are normal people. But hey, here's Hog Newman, who decides the future of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Q8 Pilot. It was such a pleasure to finally meet the man, and an even more exciting part was when Q8 Pilot noticed my channel. He said, "Yes, I think I remember you as I've seen your videos," which was a thrill to hear, by the way. I did meet a few friends, including having a meal with fellow simmer Joe Merritt, who shared many experiences of their own and how nice it was to connect with other simmers at this event. Now, the newest addition to many aviation-inspired experiences at the museum is in fact the Space Gallery. It clearly gives you an understanding of what it was like for space shuttle astronauts to train, live and work in space. Now, the exhibit features the NASA Crew Compartment Trainer, CCT-2, an EVA airlock system. Now, the Space Shuttle motion-based simulator and other facts from NASA was interesting as well. It's quite fascinating to imagine aviation beyond the skies. Some booths were determined to sell a bit more serious hardware on airliners like Skularchy Electronics in this case, SE in short. A few moments ago, I spoke about the controller that was interesting. Another booth caught my eye called Altimeter Motives, a flat-screen instrument panel overlay with controls for Cessna 172 flight simulators. It's the idea of having an A-grade panel on top of the Air Manager that made a difference. Plus, it looked quite authentic and I was impressed. Now, not just desktop or laptop simulation, I did see Infinite Flight, that was another impressive marvel of an app, showcasing their flight simulators that could be operated right from your phone. It's a definite solution if you're on the go. Navigraph, another booth that showed us a beautiful clarity of how nice their brand new updates can be on a tablet, including an iPad. VR. There were many folks who were impressed when they tried out a VR headset, and I do feel that this was a good place to try out how really VR feels, and in fact, there was one vendor who wanted to showcase their military wear and really get that immersion to fly a military jet, which was very cool. Now, one thing common I felt of all vendors I paid a visit was one simple term: immersion. How can we as a studio design something that can be immersive to the simmer or a player? What else can we offer apart from visuals? Quite frankly, I'm not active on Twitch, and getting invited and meeting Twitch streamers was a fun experience as well that evening. From Factual Gull, having a beer with Scrufytam, Complete Freedom, Cyrus John, SkyCommand, Dwarvenegg, CaptArash, Mr. Squirrely 1, SlantAlphaAdventures, Sparky Pilot 86, Luuminator, and many more folks. It's amazing to meet such wonderful people out there, and down to earth, a community. The team of Orbix, Redbirds, Beyond ADC, MK Studios, and several more, and I do believe they had one message to us: to stay together for an even better future at flight simming. While I'm back at the airport, those 2 days went by this quick. I do think it was a breath of fresh air. It's not just networking, rather connecting with what else you might have on your plate other than flight simming. A community within a community. On my way back, while I pondered on the thoughts for those 2 days, flight simming became more of a purpose to me rather than something of a leisure. There's absolutely more to follow. As always, it's been a true pleasure, and more adventures to follow.